the world has lost another legendary acting figure. But for some reason, people can't just stop being mad about random TV shows instead of actually focusing on matters that matter. Why are people so mad? Why am I so mad at these people? Stupid people. We'll be getting into all this nonsense today on Monday Madness. Jeannine, you have also watched one of the most ridiculous movies I can remember you ever describing to me. All that and more on today's show. Welcome back to the Madness. Hello everyone, welcome back to Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine.
Hello.
Yes, we're back. We love it. It's time to get all into it. It's a TV-based episode today,
Yes.
which, you know, we sometimes throw the odd bit of TV in here, but obviously our
Mostly
primary
movie. Yeah.
primary thought is movies, primary discussion points are generally, usually always about something movie related. But when you actually think about it, so much of what is prevalent going on in the entertainment world at the minute is people getting upset about seemingly to me meaningless things that happen. Well, not meaningless, but just why you're getting mad at specific points of TV shows, maybe new TV shows, maybe TV shows that have in fact been around for a good few years now, yet people are just now maybe actually realizing what was going on all the time. And they're getting mad about it because people don't have media literacy. This is going to be me,
Yes.
this entire Let's Talk discussion. I'm sorry for taking over the beginning couple of minutes of the
You're
show.
Good. A great summary of our discussion.
Yeah, the ability to not read movies and TV appropriately by people is such a skill that is so quickly and rapidly decreasing in prevalence that it's actually very concerning.
Yeah, I mean, particularly in the case I think you're probably referring to, in that case in particular, where it was so obvious what the theme was, what the discussion point was, what the satire was, and the people who were being satirized are barely just now realizing that it's about them is really sad.
I'd just like to point out, I don't even need to necessarily watch these shows to be well aware of what's going on. But I will ask the question to start us off, even though I think it's going to start off in a rather somber mood today. But so, Jeannine.
Yeah, there are a couple things up. As you mentioned, we did lose somebody. Donald Sutherland passed away. Award-winning, well-known actor. I've loved him in things like Pride and Prejudice and A Time to Kill and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like that was like the first movie I saw him in. I remember seeing that movie in theaters and loving his father figure character in that movie. Just a really well-known, prolific actor and another loss, but long life. I think he was 88. So
yeah, he's had an incredible life. Really, you can't really be too upset at 88 years.
Yeah.
I know he was suffering with an illness as well. Kiefer Sutherland put a lovely message out there.
Yeah, because I think they had a bit of a kind of a strange relationship. I think, they did try to repair that over the years here and there, but it wasn't kind of like a typical father-son relationship. So it was nice to see that they were on good terms, in this time. So
yeah, calling his father one of the great actors of all time. And really, when you look at the body of work and the length and variety of career that Donald Sutherland did have, going from some bizarre horror movies in like the mid-60s before he's really known. I think of him in a segment of Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, the Amicus. What do they call them? Movies that have multiple stories in the same movie. For God's sake, I've forgotten the
like
name.
anthology? Yes.
Anthology movie. The Amicus anthology movie, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. He's incredibly young, he's gawky looking, he's ridiculous looking in that movie.
I mean, Invasion of the Body Snatchers remake, you know, that
I mean, there's the
iconic
big
final shot of him. Live on.
the big two for me with Donald Sutherland is Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Don't Look Now from 73, which is a devastating movie, but a wonderful, wonderful horror movie. Like a horror drama, really. It's really.
I've never seen that, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's punch in the face, devastating at times, but it is a really beautifully made movie, and he is the kind of, well, I'd say the life and soul of it, but that's a far more positive phrase than a movie like Don't Look Now. Should be given. But it also made me realize this passing, as when these sort of things do happen, just how much I haven't seen of somebody as significant as somebody I enjoy as much as I do enjoy Donald Sutherland when I do see him in things. But there's a good few movies in here. I've never seen Clute with Jane Fonda,
me neither.
Fonda, and I feel like I really should. I probably should have seen it long before now, but I think sometimes it can take these, things to happen, the passing of a screen icon to happen, to open, your minds, everyone's
to their
minds,
work.
really, to more breadth of their work than what people just know. And because he has had such a varied career in so many different genres, so many different styles of movies, I'm focusing on those two from the 70s in particular, because that's what I just will always remember him from, I think, most fondly.
And of course, I'm looking at the 90s, so very much speaking to our tastes and personalities. He will be in a film that we'll be talking upcoming on Morgan Hasn't Seen. I do believe he is in Disclosure, so he will come up in an upcoming Michael Douglas series that we have happening on Morgan Hasn't Seen. So,
that's in a couple of months, but yes, it will be coming. Very nice, very nice. But Donald Sutherland, we love you. We'll miss you. You were great. You will forever be remembered by Monday Madness and everybody else, of course. Of course you will. What else has happened, Jeannine? You have watched one of the most ridiculous movies you've ever described to me, as I said before.
Yes.
But,
so I was
maybe before you get into this, I'll just mention I've not watched much of anything that hasn't been for the shows this week. I'm a bit all over the place at the minute. My work schedule
hours,
has become
kind of crazy.
It's become a little bit different, a little bit mishmashy all over the place. I'm still getting used to things that are going on, but it's been the Euros football going on. Euro 2024 has started. So really, most of the time watching things is watching
football.
These 3 matches a day.
Oh, goodness.
Tournament football is something else.
Intense.
It's been a interesting start to the tournament. A lot of goals, a lot of good play, a lot of good football, a lot of nice things. Not the finest of showings from England yet, but that's beside the point, I suppose.
No.
Well, is the time at this? No, let me just think. There might actually not be time at this point by the time this comes out, although I'm not actually definitely sure of the fixture list, but I'm fairly convinced we will have now played the last group game, and my God, Yes, it had better have gone well, otherwise there'll be no faith at all for the next round. But it's interesting. Tournament football, international football it's always a vibe. It's always a great feeling. You're kind of constantly watching all these wacky players that you only ever see once every 2, sometimes 4 years in international tournaments, because they play in leagues you just don't really watch a lot. And it's fun. It's exciting. It's always, I think, where kids really first start realizing how worldwide a sport it is. And I think that was certainly the case for me. Everybody has their tournament that they remember as that was mine from when I was younger. Like mine was the 2006 World Cup, because I was 9 and it would just hit me just right at
time.
that time.
Okay, I like that.
To go. And everybody has this who is a football fan. And well, if yours turns out to be Euro 2024, it has not got off to a bad start at all.
Okay, nice.
But yes, Jeannine, please, ridiculous movie time now. Yes.
Yes. So I have been, thanks to your help, have been trying to get back into my physical media collecting, and have really been gearing a lot of that towards Criterion. They have really great curation of films, great special features, kind of really nice exclusive covers. So I've really been enjoying kind of their set of films. So I was checking for new releases and looking at, any new Criterions that I wanted to buy. And I came across this film, and I see the picture, and it's a picture of Vincent Price, like in a little hat, and I'm like, what is this?
We do like Vincent Price wearing a hat.
Yes,
he
a
always
wide-brimmed hat, and I'm just like, the Baron of Arizona. What is this movie? So you are a Vincent Price aficionado. You love this man, his horror films and all of that. So I was
everything.
So I showed you, and I was like, have you heard of this Vincent Price film, The Baron of Arizona from 1950? And you said no. So that made me even more curious about it. So it is on the Criterion app if you want to check it out, get a subscription, watch it. So I did, and it was kind of strange. The story follows Vincent Price's character, who is this forger who decides he wants to forge all kinds of paperwork and kind of stake this claim on Arizona and say that he owns this land because of some descendant. So he finds this young girl who has no parents to speak of. Nobody knows like the origin of her family. So that's where he kind of starts his scheme. So he forges paperwork. He forges like this inscription into this old stone saying that her parentage and her family owns the land. So he makes this young girl the future Baroness of Arizona. So she's been living with this man who the parents left her to him to take care of. And so he's been raising her. He gets her a baroness. Vincent Price gets her a baroness a governess to help kind of teach her how to write and read and educate her as he goes off on another mission to kind of forge more paperwork and things and set his plan in motion, which sees him, ending up in a monastery and then kind of running away and, tricking some Romani people and running away and tricking the wife of a baron to get more kind of information of what he needs and then running away, only for him to finally return to the young girl who is now a woman. And he has set her up to be the Baroness, and he marries her and becomes the Baron, and then kind of submits all this forged paperwork to now say that he lays claim to Arizona.
I just have a small question. Now, does Arizona have a Baron? I wasn't aware Arizona had.
Well, according to this character, he creates himself to be this baron as he marries the young girl that now is a grown up, and so
It's
they
not
are the
really.
baron and baroness of Arizona, and obviously the people living there on the territory are not happy about this claim and don't believe it, so there's a lot of discourse. We do get some angry mobs with torches and pitchforks, which kind of
Going
is
after
just,
Vincent Price.
yes, which is just an insane escalation of this situation. Um, and I don't feel bad for spoiling this film because this isn't like a deep thriller or a fun movie or even like one of the older movies that actually gives you a disclaimer, please do not share the ending of this film. So I'll just briefly say that this film ends very much like that popular scene from Mean Girls where Regina George says, "Get in, loser, we're going shopping." So that is the Baron of Arizona from
Can, can we
1950.
can we all just picture Vincent Price in a rendition of Mean Girls now, please? I mean, this is just ultimately a kind of bit of a shock factor melodrama, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
In style and
Yes,
movie.
it's very, like, melodramatic. We see him kind of, using this same line to woo women, so it's just adding to his swindler quality, like, I think he tells at least 3 different women in this film, like, "I've known many women, but you make me feel afraid." Like, that's, like, his big line, so, hey, guys, if you wanna use that on the ladies, it was working pretty good for
Yeah.
Vincent Price. Um, and
Anything would work good for Vincent Price. If you see the aura is unmatched for
Yes,
Vincent
and
Price.
the exposition is incredibly clunky. Like, we open this film with a bunch of men cheersing his character because now Arizona has become a state and it's this whole official thing. And they're saying, well, we have to thank his character for making this happen. And then all the men are like, why do we have to thank him? Didn't he forge this paperwork and do this and that? And basically, they're asking the question, explaining everything that he did. So, why are you asking the question? You obviously know everything he did. So it is very clunky narration and exposition explaining kind of what he's doing in the beginning of this film. So it was just very odd. I'm glad I watched it because it was entertaining in the aspect of, okay, Vincent Price, what are you doing? There's a scene where he's kind of dressed like almost like a Zorro pirate kind of thing because he's been like spending time with the Romani people. Like,
Oh,
it's
for
just kind of
God's sake.
silly and it's
Does he?
taking itself
Oh,
very seriously.
of course.
So
At one point, please tell me Vincent Price is wearing some sort of long earring.
I don't remember in the scene, but he has like a fancy scarf like under a hat, like a
Of
wide
course he
brimmed
does.
hat, and he's wooing a lady. I feel like I could picture an earring with it, but I don't remember. So yes, I
Honestly,
mean, if you want to see a different style of Vincent Price, but just it's a very strange where did this movie come from, but obviously Criterion is, putting it up as, they're releasing a copy of it you can buy, in their
yeah. I mean,
collection. It's on the app, so
you showed me what it looked like on the Criterion. It seems to come in a set of Samuel Fuller 5 films,
yeah.
which Sam Fuller's a very interesting filmmaker, writer,
Filmmaker, yeah.
director. I'm
You
a
were
big
telling
fan
me.
of Sam Fuller movies. He does make shock factor
Yeah,
movies quite a lot, and there's a lot of grit, I think, to a lot of his movies as well. But he's also very varied. Like he can come out and make a out there, just way over the top melodrama that you are very entertained by simply because it's just so overly intense
yeah.
than what it needs to be. But then he can, later on make movies like Shock Corridor about kind of mental institutions, which is really, I mean, it's tough to watch at times, but it's boundary pushing. I think Sam Fuller was a boundary pushing director and
I could
writer
see
and,
that.
and filmmaker, but maybe the Baron of Arizona isn't necessarily that, but with some Fullerisms in there, with some Vincent Price melodrama in there, which he's great at. If
Yeah.
he's great, obviously he's great in horror. We know this. He's
Yes.
Mr. Horror.
Mr. Macabre, yes.
Obviously, Mr. That's a great I like that. Let's give him that title.
Yes.
Obviously, he's also great in noir because there's tinges of melodrama in noir, and this comes earlier in his career, sure, before he becomes the big horror star, but not before he stars in horror movies. But in the middle of all that, you do get the odd. I'm thinking of like Dragonwick with Gene Tierney as
Okay.
well from I think 46, which is like a gothic melodrama.
Yeah.
So it's not horror, it's not gothic horror at all. It's more romance melodrama. But he's just wonderful in it because he's kind of just despicable and able to still hold the intense charm that he does have. No matter
Yeah.
if he's playing despicable people. I mean, we see that in his
Yes.
horror
I
career
mean,
every single time, virtually, don't we? He's
yes.
playing
And in this
horrible
film,
people.
yes, and he's this horrible forger. He's doing these terrible things. He's manipulating people, but in the end, it's just who he is and how he plays these characters that you do kind of find yourself sympathizing with him because I think he's really down
Yeah,
on his luck by the end, and then he still gets that kind of invitation. Hey, loser, get it? We're going shopping.
I love it. I love it so much.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you can
Go
find The Baron of Arizona, I know it's streaming on the Criterion app right now, so if you wanted to get a trial or subscription or something, they do have a lot of great things on there in general, so,
go and seek out
yeah.
these movies.
Yes.
You
It was
know,
random and just kind of a fun, like, surprise, so
they'll be worth your while because discovering these kind of things that you never knew existed in a particular style is so fulfilling. And look, as we move into our let's talk discussion, if you find yourself getting overly mad at random television shows because you just don't know what to make of them anymore, you think the world's crumbling around you, and it isn't. It's not all that serious. Just
yes.
relax a little bit, please. I'm not having a go at everybody here, by the way. But
Yes, I
maybe
think
also if you want to get away from the vitriolic discussion surrounding certain television shows at the minute, go and find yourself a movie that very few people have ever heard of from 75 years ago, and
yes.
you'll have a great time.
Exactly. If TV is getting you down, which it seems to be getting most people down nowadays, watch a crazy random movie. But yes, I mean, let's talk about
Yes,
this discourse that's been happening around shows that have been released lately. So
let's
we've
put the
had
let's put the question on the screen that I have
okay.
appropriately wrote as it's gone off again. Why are people so mad at TV shows?
Yes. So we've had 4 kind of major show releases, one being a brand new show, the rest from a very toxic fandom, and the rest
Oh
being
yes.
3 returning shows. And all of them have gotten some level of discourse. So let's kind of just briefly go through them and talk about the discourse surrounding them, and then we can kind of talk about why we think people are mad.
Okay.
Um, so
We're going show
obviously
by show here.
Yes. So, obviously we talked very extensively about Bridgerton, season 3,
Yes.
a very built up popular season, finding quite a bit of discourse. From what I can see, it's because people aren't happy with the amount of screen time our lead couple has gotten. Um, and so they felt it lacking in that aspect is kind of, I think, the biggest criticism. Um, that yeah, our lead couple didn't get enough screen time, that they were servicing other characters too much that didn't really need it, and also some discourse around a gender swapping of a character. So that's kind of the biggest kind of falters I've seen with people having a discourse with this 3rd season.
I see. I see. Now, we talked about both of these things
Yes.
on our last babbling about Bridgerton that you can
Yes.
find on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel.
Yes.
If you are watching today's episode of Monday Madness, of course, go and check that out. Subscribe and ding your notification bell. If you are not watching today's episode and you are just listening, subscribe wherever you are listening, of course, and check out all the wonderful things we have, but also go on over to the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel if this is something you find yourself interested in. We talked about the fact that ultimately, I think it's down to, was the season of Bridgerton well balanced, because there is far more going on in the show of Bridgerton than goes on in the books of Bridgerton.
Yes, the show
I
has
felt it
far
was
much more.
balanced.
Yes, there's so much more to do. Like in the books, there's that freedom to focus on your love interest characters. You're not really focusing on a ton of other storylines. But in the show, obviously, you can't really just focus on two people in this whole world that you're building. They've added the queen character, which adds more to the story. They've added this kind of racial, kind of real world aspect to this Regency era, which is another kind of thing to play with. You're trying to service all these other characters because you're introducing them. You're trying to build a world, a visual world for people. And I think with Colin and Penelope specifically, they're not like the other two couples we've seen, or even if you
No.
count Queen Charlotte and the prince and the king, not like any of those couples, because these are couples we've already sat with and have gotten to know individually and their relationship together in 2 seasons. So now this is just them in love. So of course I would have loved to see maybe a flashback scene of how they met instead of them just telling us. Of course I would have loved maybe a scene to show how she started with Lady Whistledown and how it all started for her, as that is kind of a big crux in the finale. So of course there are things and scenes that I would have loved. I would have loved to see more love scenes with Colin and Penelope. But I think the balance of getting to know, build out the other characters' stories to get to the finale that you needed to get to. I think, it's Penelope season and people are feeling like we didn't see Penelope, but I think it had to serve as her relationship with her family, which they gave some nice time to. Her relationship with Eloise, they gave a nice time to, and then obviously her relationship with Colin. So
look how much we've actually got of these two in those 2 previous proper Bridgerton seasons, compared to, for example, how much we got of Anthony in season 1 compared to season 2. Like, he's in very little of season 1 ultimately, really. And then it becomes all about him.
Yes,
And Kate
the
in
first 2
season 2.
seasons. Exactly, the first 2 seasons are focused on those couples, and they get what feels like a lot more time because we're just getting to know them. We have to develop them from the bottom up.
But
Whereas
we've
with
not
Colin and
had to do
Penelope,
that with these 2.
exactly, and it's to the point where I'm seeing people actually going to the trouble of timing how much time screen time Colin and Penelope had in comparison to the other couples. So I think there are things you need to take into account if you're gonna take the time to do something like that.
All the time, try all the seasons of time, because
Exactly.
that's probably more than what we've got from any other couple.
Exactly. So I think somebody actually timed out the first 4 episodes of all of the seasons and surmised that it was very similar. Like they've all, including Colin and Penelope, it was a very similar amount of screen time on just the first 4 episodes. But in the total of the season, the other couples had more, which we explained obviously because they're building up these couples from the ground up. And you don't have to do that with Colin and Penelope. So those are kind of the biggest complaints that have been coming, I think, out of Bridgerton, on top of the complaints about the gender swapping of a character that we learn about in the end. We were supposed to get a character, Michael Sterling, and now we're getting Michaela Sterling, which is meant to be a later love interest for a character. So, I think maybe some of that is coming from some kind of homophobic aspect, but from what I've seen, it's mostly just
Well, that's
because
always nice, in Pride
but I
Month
haven't
and all
seen a
that.
ton of that. I've seen it mostly just be because people, I guess, apparently I haven't read that book with that character. People he's like seen as the favorite man in the Bridgerton books.
Right.
So that switch is kind of jarring for people, but I do appreciate kind of this idea to show a queer storyline and have people represented who don't feel represented.
This is where a thing of understand what you're watching comes into play for me again, really. I understand, you being fond of a character from a book that is then ultimately not adapted to that book's accuracy in its on-screen form. But is there anywhere to say that Michaela Sterling in later seasons will not possess all those same traits you like about Michael Sterling?
Yeah,
But
we don't
just
know.
as a woman, she might.
And yes, and I find it incredibly exciting and interesting to see how they're going to adapt a queer storyline in this world where that is kind of meant to be a
Yeah.
hidden relationship that people aren't, really aware of or accepting of. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to work and what they're going
Yeah.
to do in terms of
It's
making it kind of be an acceptable thing in this time period.
what you really should be looking at this, and I know, and it's tough because, okay, to some degree in some situations, I have been a little bit like this of, well, that's not how I knew it was before. Why is it
Yeah.
been changed? What's going on? But if you take like a second longer to actually realize what they're going for, nothing's changed from what you know because that's still there as published media. Here it is over here,
Yeah.
ready for you to always go back to it if you want to. But here's this slightly different thing over the other side, where the creators of the Bridgerton show are clearly going for a certain idea. They're
Yeah.
clearly wanting to explore a certain topic. And we should be excited to see what they do with that. We should be interested at least to see what they do with that, because that is bold adaptation. And
Yeah.
we don't want safe adaptation. Bold adaptation is always more interesting. So I suppose
Yes.
that's it from a Bridgerton
But
standpoint, unless you have anything
yes.
else to say.
No, I mean, anything else you wanna hear about our thoughts on Bridgerton, you can watch on our, Morgan Hasn't Seen TV spinoff show where we did our babbling about Bridgerton series. So,
Very true, very
you can
true.
check that out. So the next show that is, kind of getting some discourse, I think you alluded to it with the, media literacy, uh, uh, conversation, is The Boys. So The Boys
Yeah.
now on its 4th season just premiered its first 4 episodes at the time of this recording. And, it's really taking this season to lean in hard on kind of far right ideology and thinking and kind of satirizing that. And so it's getting a very low audience score, and far right extremists are complaining, using the, throwing woke out there, and the show has gone down and all these kinds of complaints because they are
Uh,
just now realizing that this show is making fun of them, which it's kind of been doing that for 4 seasons. I will say the show, I think it does try to balance out kind of just political satire in general. I mean, I've seen kind of uh satire of the left as well, and kind of their performative activism and that kind of
mm,
thing. Um, but yeah, it definitely leans in on kind of far right extremist ideology. And so the fact that these people are just now barely 4 seasons in clocking that is kind of hilarious. And so it's
I
causing the show to get a really low audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and lots of complaints, and yeah.
now I had a question, but you did answer it. But I have another question. Now, of course,
Okay.
is an audience score the most important thing ever to the success
No.
of a movie or TV show? No, but is it what people like to focus on because
Yes.
that gives them a particular
Kind of arguing
degree,
point,
or an arguing point,
validation.
a statistic should not exist when it comes to movies and TV,
Yeah, I mean,
and
people, I think,
media forms.
yes, I think people use it to kind of validate their opinions. A couple other kind of really crappy things I'm seeing about negative things around the show is what we see all the time is criticism of how some of the actors look in this season, which is really shitty and frustrating.
How
The
some of the
actor
actors what? The physical
so
form
you
of the
yes,
actors?
so you don't watch The Boys, but I will kind of describe the actor who plays, Mother's Milk, is played by Laz Alonso, and in the previous seasons, he's had a beard, he's kind of been a little beefier, and this
Okay.
season, he looks a little thinner, and he shaved his beard. I think it's been kind of a memeable thing at this point, just how much a beard changes a man's face.
Mm,
So he just doesn't have a beard, and the actor has talked about, "I was putting on a lot of weight, so I wanted to do a lifestyle change." So he has since, like, put the effort into losing weight for his health. So he looks a little thinner, and he doesn't have a beard, and people are making those kind of comparisons to, when they were making fun of Chadwick Boseman for, how he looked before they knew he had
God.
cancer, and those kinds of things are coming up. So that's been awful. And then an actress who plays a character named Starlight, her name is Erin Moriarty. She's a lead on the show. She's gotten a little bit of work done to her face, and so people have been criticizing, "Oh, what'd she do to her face? She was so pretty. She aged herself 20 years. Oh my gosh, she looks awful. She used to be so hot. Why would she do this?" And so, I mean, to the point where the showrunner has had to come speak out in defense of her, to, her kind of penning this whole Instagram post about how this is affecting her, and since deleting and all of this kind of thing. So the actors in this season are getting attacked for just how they look as well, which is kind of coming off in the criticisms of the season, which is just so deplorable and disgusting and unnecessary. So
It really does feel very unnecessary, and yeah, you are right. I don't watch the show, yet as far as I can tell from the outside, it's clearly very politically satirical as a show,
yeah,
and with everything seemingly centered around Homelander, it's fairly clear to me what that character's supposed to represent.
yes, that he does
Like,
these
even
terrible
looking
things. He lies, he kills people, he has no qualms about doing whatever he wants, and people still praise him for it. And
yeah,
and
but, like,
hold him up as a god in a lot of senses, so very much speaking
e
to somebody we know.
well, whether it's a specific person or just a specific idea, it's
Yeah,
very clear to me that it is about that specific
yes.
idea. So how the idiots of the world can't fathom this out and must view it as literal because idiocy, so everything has to be perfectly spoon-fed and straightforward for people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't read slightly under the surface of what might be going on in what is actually obviously going on if you've got 3 brain cells.
Right? And it's this weird kind of juxtaposition, because it's like, if you are offended and get defensive over this portrayal of something that you think speaks to you or is making fun of you, then you must see yourself in that kind of behavior somewhere, right?
Which can't be a good thing,
Exactly. If you're
surely. That's
offended by
exactly right. I didn't even think about that. Are we now just are people maybe people are actually fully okay with being aware that they're a bit evil
Yes, I
in
think that
today's world.
that might
Maybe
play
that's
into it.
the case. Maybe people are just sat here perfectly happy going, "I hate everything that is not me, and I'm happy about that. Nobody likes me, and I like nobody. I am a hate-fueled garbage creature." And
Yes.
they're happy with this. They're happy with this existence. Why?
Maybe.
I'll put the thing on
Maybe.
again. I'm gonna put the thing on again. Why are people so mad at TV shows?
It's
Why are people
literally
so
holding up a mirror to your behavior, and you're getting offended by it, when it's literally showing the things that you say, the propaganda that you spew, the, kind of, praising of everyday people, when you're this kind of, bastardization of religion, all of these kinds of things that these people do, kind of illustrated in this fun, satirical way, and they're getting so offended by it, but it's literally the same thing of what they do. It's really wild.
I'd just like to point something out that I saw this past week as well. Look, it's not often we get, I think, overly directly political
Yeah.
on things. It's a very important thing, obviously. With a show like The Boys, it's obviously
Yes.
very prevalent in that, and there was nothing that I've seen on various social medias about this particular, I think, notable scene in this new season of The Boys that really goes to town on these kind of far right groups, as we're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen this show up and have become aware of it.
Yeah.
Yet it doesn't seem out of place with everything else that I've ever seen from The Boys in clip form, in image form, in meme
Yeah,
form,
no,
in anything, right?
it's had this underlying political kind of satire since the beginning. So it's just kind of
But
only now that it's being recognized by a certain group.
it reminded me, and obviously I have to assume this is also mostly coming from Americans. However, it's reminded me of, well, Britain's having a general election on the 4th of July. Did you know this? Some
Oh,
people
I
might
did
have known
not.
this, but didn't yet. You'll be having your fireworks and your Independence Day. We'll be panicking over who's going to be Prime Minister next,
Oh gosh.
because it's a bit of a panic. But it reminded me of a lovely, lovely video I saw earlier this week, which is just people catering to the most ridiculous audience of people in just the most populist kind of way. And it was a criminal individual, a man with a criminal record, an assault record, who was blaming foreign people for his inability to get a steady job. And the
What?
interviewer was, of course, saying, "Okay, so you're blaming these people, not the fact you are a convicted criminal. No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's to do with
Okay.
all these other people." And these are the
Taking the
kind of
jobs
idiots
kind of
we have
thing.
to
Yeah.
deal with.
Yeah. Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are the kind of idiots that, for some reason, do exist. And look at yourself. Look at yourself before blaming anybody else. It's
Right?
always more about yourself and nothing about
Exactly,
anybody else,
exactly.
right? In that sort of situation. But this is the kind of person here who would, I think, be getting mad at this particular season of The Boys.
Yes. So, I mean, I think general opinions are favorable of this season. I've been enjoying the season very much. Um, the commentary, I think, is really great and very real to the world as it is right now, which I think people need to kind of see that. And even the showrunners, like, if people are mad, they don't need to watch it. Like, I really don't care. So,
People just need to have critical analysis skills. And I know
exactly.
it's tough. It's
Yeah.
not an easy thing to develop. Not everybody has it. But if you don't find your mind being able to do that sort of stuff, just have some sense of compassion in your life. Like, what's caused this? And this is my thing as well. I don't get annoyed at these people that I'm referring to as idiots. I'm just, what's happened? What's happened? Like,
Yeah.
why can we change this? Is it right to change it? I mean, in some circumstances, like, people are just who they are. Most of the time, it can be harmless. It's just these little few times that it might not be harmless,
Yeah.
But can it be changed? Should it be changed? It's all a tough subject, really, to get your head
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
But it's, I just, I despair a little bit when I see these kind of things, because I think it's important to know that all different kinds of people exist. Of course it is. We can't just be living in a little bubble of, let's all say the same thing to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
But have intelligence within yourself. And if you believe you have intelligence, I'm gonna need to see more of it on the show.
Yes, because when I talk about things like that are do have a discourse surrounding them, I'm always very open to understanding the side that I don't agree with and still giving my perspective. So I'm going to tell you this is how I feel about it. I understand why you might feel this way about it, but this is how I feel about it. So I'm always
Yeah.
like open to taking that into account, even if I extremely disagree. But I think a certain side just can't do that. They really just can't see beyond their own opinion, which is just kind of sad.
It's
So
very
yeah,
sad. It's very sad.
yes. So, so I think we've surmised Bridgerton. It was the changes from the book and not enough screen time. I think with the boys now, it's this kind of lack of media literacy that's causing the
Yeah.
problem. I think the one show that has come out pretty, the most unscathed of the shows that we're discussing is probably
Mhm.
House of the Dragon. So another episode
Seemingly. I
will
mean,
have
it's yes,
yes.
it's only at this point had 2 episodes aired.
Yes. So I think as of the airing of this episode, another episode will have aired that we haven't seen. Um, so I think the biggest issue I've seen with the one episode that has been out since the time of recording the show is people not thinking the blood and cheese moment was gory enough. It didn't match the book well enough.
Now
Which it just
here
seems
I
kind of
can
a
come
bit of a sick thought. I mean,
I know, but here I can come in and going, "I actually agree with you
okay. Okay.
because look, this is a world here that has the most horrific things happen. This
Yeah.
particular sequence of events in the Fire and Blood book was sickening to read. And okay, maybe you don't need it to be as graphically shown as it's described, perhaps, but I think the shock factor enough? Yes, but here, and maybe this is just because I'm particularly into the world of Ice and Fire, the Song of
Yeah.
Ice and Fire and everything around it. And for in all its, great heroism at times and all its absolutely despicable nastiness at times, do I feel like it shied away from the truth? No, because it's fundamentally the same thing. You get the real, vomit look on your face watching what's happening there
Yeah.
with blood and cheese. Let's not say it too directly
Yeah.
for those who haven't watched or don't want me to say it too directly because it's really,
Yeah.
really awful. But it's just more in the book form.
Yes. And I
Like
think the
everything in
context.
Song of Ice and
Well,
Fire is
yes. I mean,
more in the book form. Like
yes.
we forget that so much of the nastiness that happens in the main Game of Thrones show happened to much younger people in the book form, happened in more extreme ways. Even Theon Reek Ramsay Bolton, right?
Yeah.
That we think is just, oh god, that makes you want to throw up some of those scenes
Yeah.
in that show. But they're like 3 times worse in the book. The physical description of what's going on here, like, there's only so much you can make Alfie Allen look not like a human being. But in the book form, he might as well just be a skeleton crawling around.
Well, yeah, and I mean, even with Tyrion, he had a lot of changes to how he was described and the
Shouldn't
scar
have
that
had a
he gets.
nose.
Yes, he should have been incredibly deformed. But I think with the blood and cheese scene, I think also from what I know, because I haven't read the books, the context is a little bit different. How the story flows with kind of what that scene is a little bit different from the books, because, I think that they have a kind of third child that's not been seen yet and that kind of thing, and just how
Yeah.
the characters are set up in the story that they're telling here is a little
Again,
bit
though, we're
different than the
dealing with
book, so I think the kind of little bit of context changes also would play into why that scene is not exactly the same as well.
yes, and look, I understand that. Again, we're dealing with an adaptation thing, and I know particularly when it comes to the world of Westeros and everything like that, people at well, for the last 5 years have been, or I suppose probably since just House of the Dragon started, maybe not for the 5 years since Game of Thrones ended,
Yeah.
6 years since Game of Thrones ended, 6 years? God, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
People get scared when adaptations don't follow true. But we also
Yeah.
have to remember Fire and Blood is a biased account. It's a it's a fictional history. It's
Yeah.
not fact. It's because it's this in-world written thing.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be taking every little description in it as absolute truth anyway.
Okay.
So it does make the show very able to be, open with its interpretations of things, which I like because it's still consistently delivered in that
Yes,
first
so
season,
so
didn't it?
again,
Even with it kind of all over the place
yeah,
timeline-wise, it
yeah,
still consistently delivered. It made clear sense as to what was going on. You
yeah.
knew everything what was going on, everything that was supposed to be effective in any emotional way was effective in any emotional way. It was a great, great season of television. I don't think we should be worried about House of the Dragon.
Yes. So this is probably, like I said, the show that has the least bit of criticism that has come out in recent months and weeks. So yeah, that's kind of the only criticism thus far I've seen about House of the Dragon. And then we move on to the toxic of most toxicness, and that is with the new Star Wars show, The Acolyte.
I don't want
Um
to talk about it. We're not allowed to talk about Star
Yes,
Wars.
because apparently, you can't have a black female lead in your show.
Why?
That is where people are getting upset. I mean, they're bringing out the woke conversation again, and
Because
I
people
think
don't understand the word.
yes, and then in the most recent episode, they kind of, I guess, showed their lack of knowledge with the lore of the world, putting a character in there that we wouldn't see for another, I think, 100 years or so. So that kind of made some confusion and is speaking to
Seeing
fans
bits,
that
yes.
yes, and speaking to fans that they don't understand kind of the lore of the
What?
show, which I think was a bit of a conflict in the beginning because when it was announced who was writing the show, I think one of the writers was kind of a huge Star Wars fan and one of the writers had never seen anything Star Wars. So it was very much a question of, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Can they just bring a great storytelling perspective, not being clouded by all of this lore and history, and they can kind of just isolate the story, which is what I was enjoying about the show, that it wasn't kind of beholden to everything we've seen. It's just kind of this whole other kind of set of characters and storytelling that's not tied to anything, wholly.
Unfortunately, and this is the issue with having so many wide universes of
Mhm.
media things, people find it very difficult and I don't find it easy. Obviously, we don't find it easy to view part of that story or part of that universe as totally singular.
Yeah.
This is why I like to prefer to watch just movies that are their own thing. They don't have all these other external things going on that you necessarily might need to know. Not that you should ever need to know, but you might need to
Yeah.
know what's come before, what's come after, what's happening there at the
Yeah,
same
what
time, what's
timeline are
going
we
on
in?
down here.
Was this before all of this other stuff we know happened? I mean, I do like the idea of a narrative that is like, we're in this huge galaxy. So what was going on in this little part of the galaxy that
Yeah,
nobody looked
definitely.
at? So I like the idea of that, but also yes, I mean, having it beholden to did it take place pre this stuff and pre that stuff and pre these things that happened in these movies and this show, and kind of like the little bit of homework gymnastics you might have to do to understand where something is set, what is going on in the world at that time, kind
And
of
look,
almost kind of cripples it a little bit to being its own kind of individual thing if the show forces you
yeah,
to maybe take those timeline aspects into account, because you throw this character in there, maybe you think you're doing it for some type of fan service, only to get criticized because it's a character who said a certain thing and came at a certain time that has nothing to
yeah,
do with where you're putting them now.
yeah.
So
If I've got this right, because I haven't watched The
Acolyte.
Acolyte. I admittedly haven't watched anything Star Wars for quite a while now. I definitely didn't watch the latest season of The Mandalorian even,
Ugh,
and that was a show I really did like in that particular world. But like with other things, there seems like there's so much of it that it puts me off. Like I just feel like I'm falling away because
yeah,
there's too
there's too
much,
much. Yeah, a little bit of
and it's
oversaturation.
very
I get
much
that.
so oversaturation. But I understand the frustration from to a degree of the lore change aspects in a big universe story like Star Wars. But people do take it way, way too seriously. And people really, really, really need to remember that literally Star Wars has changed its entire lore. Virtually every single new movie, show, whatever that we've had
Yeah,
since the very beginning. It has changed everything about itself every single time.
yeah,
So you can't be having these arguments of, well, that's not how the force works
yeah,
or anything like that. Well, how do you know it might have changed again? Because it changed 8 times already before
yeah,
now. So did we have all this? No, we didn't have all this problem in Return of the Jedi, did we? No, we
yeah.
didn't have it then because you watched that when you were 7. That's why you didn't have a problem with it then.
Yes,
So that's
and
perfect. And
yes,
now you have some semblance of media literacy. You nitpick and you get annoyed by things that you're actually supposed to like. So
yes,
why don't you actually just focus on the things that you might actually like? And you know what? If you don't like it, shut up and don't
and don't
watch it.
watch it. Yes, and, like, just having a character existing in this world and calling it this some type of agenda. Like, it's a fictional world, so to have somebody
Right.
of a certain race doesn't mean anything in this world.
It literally doesn't. It literally doesn't mean a thing. I mean, for God's sake, we talked about. In a way, I'm almost sick of talking about this sort of stuff because I never understand the mentality of we might cast um, somebody in a particular role, and
Yeah,
all of a sudden, a certain sect of people decide to just be completely vitriolic towards this particular person or the fact that this particular person even exists in this role
yeah,
simply because they now quote can't see themselves in it anymore. That's
yes.
a bit pitiful,
We don't have
as
a
we've
white
talked
man
about.
leading the story, so it means nothing to me now.
as we've talked about many, many times on many, many shows, that is an incredibly pitiful way of thinking. However, for you closed-minded individual, let's remind you, all your nice things haven't gone anywhere, so just go and watch
Go watch
them.
those over and over and over again and watch your
Because
wife
many of them,
and,
many of them
be
are
happy.
many of them are genuinely great.
Yes.
They are.
So just
Undeniably.
watch those. View everything as the last season of Game of Thrones and just watch the parts of it that you like, if that's how you're gonna be.
View everything as the last season of Game of Thrones and just watch
Ignore
the
it.
first
Pretend
7.
it's not there.
Just
You didn't like.
just watch the
Yes,
first 7.
and pretend like
Because
it's not there, and just watch those on a loop.
when the 7th season of Game of Thrones ended with Daenerys' troop coming over the sea, coming over the narrow sea on all those ships, we could have ended then, and it'd be like, oh well, there's the invasion. I'd have been happy with that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, there's all those other plot threads and 17,000 other things that, weren't resolved, and yeah, okay. Or we could have the mentality that I kind of do have with the end of Game of Thrones, and I know this is a very old topic of discussion now, but the facts of what happened, I never had an issue with. It was just the execution of everything.
Oh yes, it was terribly executed. Like they
But
felt like they didn't know what they were doing.
The actual points of what happened, I have to assume, came from the boss himself.
Well, I mean, the
So
fact that these two men decided to go hide on a beach when the episode premiered
no, never mind them. Yeah,
speaks to the fact that they knew they were doing wrong.
of course they did. Never mind them. And speaking of Star Wars, didn't they rush it because they were planning on doing a Star Wars thing that never happened?
Oh no, they wanted to do a wonderful show where the Confederacy won.
Oh no, that was another thing that they were doing. That's right.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
that was another thing.
they also had a Star Wars opportunity, and this killed that.
Now,
So.
admittedly, there's some interest in seeing a show like that, but you've got to be very, very careful. It reminds me of that Man in the High Castle thing, which is where I think the Nazis won World War II.
Oh.
It's an interesting concept as an idea. You can't just take it lightly.
No. And so I think people were not happy with that.
And you can't take it when you're those two. Either.
Yes. So
if we're being honest, that's the issue.
Exactly. So yes, I mean, if you don't like these things, just don't watch them.
Basically.
And like I think people are thinking Star Wars just now, like in most recent years, got very toxic. No, I feel like it was always toxic. It was always sexist. It was always racist. But now people have platforms to spew all of this stuff. So shows, just people are finding little things to nitpick and blowing them up into these insane proportions.
Jeannine,
it's the climate of the discourse of the world right now.
Yes. We will continue being our very small platform.
Yes.
Fighting the good fight, as we like to do.
Yes.
We will try. Let's end today's show with some fun and games, as we always like to do. We have TV-based games today, which I think is very exciting. What's your game for me, Jeannine? I know, obviously, you'll be going first.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you some TV trivia questions. Some I found online,
nice.
Others I've made up myself. So
very nice. Okay, how many questions do you have? Is there a defined number?
There's not a defined number.
Oh, there's not a defined number. Okay, well that's fine. I mean, I have 10 questions for you.
Oh,
now,
okay.
My game is definitely more fun than it is game, although it might actually be more game than it is fun, because it pertains to game shows. Because it's just a great mix, TV, games, this is fun and games, game shows, it all fits into one little group of niceness.
Okay.
I mean, we like game shows. There's a lot of
We
fun
do.
game shows out there. A lot of fun, bizarre, over-the-top American game shows, and a lot of much better British game shows. Oh, digs. The digs are going in quickly here. However, your fun and games today is not a serious fun and games at all.
Okay.
This isn't one that you really have correct answers to, by the way.
Okay.
It's a silly game show answers game.
Okay.
So I've found 10 very, 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 very stupid answers that people have given on game shows. Namely, I mean, there's 5 from US game shows and 5 from British game shows.
Okay.
Right? I thought we'd have a nice little split. But you're going to try and answer these questions with what you think this ridiculously stupid answer that somebody gave was. Because these are all very simple questions.
Okay.
But I just want you to think.
I have to guess what
this
somebody
idiot here, yes, might have said.
Okay.
So the first one comes from Family Feud.
Okay.
Yes, obviously. There's quite a lot from there, by the way. So name something you feel before you buy it.
So I have to think of a stupid answer somebody said.
Yes. Quick fire. Come on, it's Family Feud. You got to be quick.
Well, I could see someone saying something gross like I don't know, like a breast implant.
Okay. No, the answer was excited. Name something you feel before you buy it. Excited.
So they thought like an emotion.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. This next one comes from Jeopardy, so you have to answer properly.
Okay.
This video game character is blue, collects rings, and goes fast.
Well,
it's a very simple answer.
Yes,
very simple
obviously the answer is Sonic the Hedgehog, but I'm assuming they did not say Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, they didn't. No.
Maybe they just said Super Mario because of all the other things, despite not thinking about the blue.
It's a fair guess. The actual answer, and I'm saying this correctly, was who is Danky Kang?
They said Danky Kang.
Yes,
with A's
that was with A's. That was the answer that was given there. This next one comes from Family Feud again.
Okay.
During what month of pregnancy does a woman begin to look pregnant?
Well, I mean, I think the answer is probably maybe like 3 or 4 months. But this person maybe said 9 months.
No, this person said September. Which might be the best one on here. But I've also temporarily forgotten what the future ones are, which is just... No, I'm sorry, this is the best one. This has to be the best one.
Okay.
This one also comes from Family Feud. Name a yellow fruit.
Okay. I mean, there's a bunch, but if it's the stupid answer, I don't know what to say.
Say the stupid answer. Come on.
Maybe there's
one answer that's more wrong than all other answers when you think about fruit here.
So it's probably maybe like a vegetable. I don't
know. No. The answer that was given was an orange.
They did not say an orange for a yellow fruit. The color's literally in the name of the fruit.
Name a yellow fruit. Orange. Oh my God. This is what Family Feud does to you. It's too intense. It's too quick. Gosh. Idiot people. This the last American one again. Family Feud we're dealing with here.
Okay.
Name something only worn by children. Name something only worn by children.
I mean, what would a dumb person say? Like, it's really hard to think like an idiot. To actually try to think of a stupid answer.
I'm quite impressed that you're trying this hard to think of what these answers will be, as though you're going to get them.
No, I'm not. I don't know. Pigtails. I don't.
No, the answer that was given was clothes.
Yeah, only exclusive to children wearing clothes.
Clothes. Okay, we're moving into Britain on the weakest
So
link.
you're dumb too.
The weakest link, which was a great show.
Yes.
In the Lord's Prayer, which everybody knows, no matter well, probably not everybody knows, but a lot of people know, no matter what, if you're non-religious or anything. Which word, meaning blessed, comes before be thy name? The correct answer here, by the way, being hallowed.
Hallowed. Yes. I don't know. What
this person said Howard.
So they just been saying Howard all this time in church.
Howard
be thy name.
So according to that person, the Christian God is called Howard. This next one comes from a show called Tipping Point, which is the worst game show because it's so annoyingly simple, and it's one of those big, like, I don't know how to describe them. Those kind of like big plinko machines that are like the cord going down, and then it's pushed in the end. But the questions are so unbelievably easy, as demonstrated. What day is Christmas traditionally celebrated on?
Did they just say Christmas? Did they just say Christmas Day? They didn't give a date?
No, this person said Wednesday.
It's not Thanksgiving where it's on the same day of the week every year. Oh my God.
This next one comes from a radio show, LBC Radio.
Okay.
A game show, yeah. How many English kings have been called Henry? This one's got a bit more to it, this answer, to be honest with you.
Oh.
Yeah. No, there's the stupid answer. It has
yes. Yeah. So they didn't guess like the number. They probably said something. I don't know.
I mean, it's a good thought. It's a good thought. No, this person said, well, I know about Henry VIII, so 3. What? Why? Why? What goes through these people's minds to do that? What happens?
Oh, Lordy.
I don't understand.
That's got to be the best one.
Now, these last two come from Britain's version of Family Feud, which of course came before and is better. Called Family Fortunes. It's not called Family Feud, it's called Family Fortunes. Name a vocalist known only by one name.
Did they just say vocalist?
No. It's a good thought. No. Here we could have, who is a correct answer? Who would
vocalist,
be a correct?
Cher.
Correct, yes. No, this person said Michael Jackson. Which I think, to be fair to this person, that is the only name he was known by. But it's not just one name, is it?
No.
Come on. And the last one, which isn't the best one, but is definitely the weirdest one, which is why I've left it to last. Again, from Family Fortunes. Name something you take with you to the beach. Name something you take with you to the beach. And if you get this, you've either watched this clip.
No, I haven't. I haven't seen it.
Or you're as weird a person as this gentleman.
I don't know. A sandwich.
It's stunningly close. The man said turkey.
It's a turkey to the beats.
I don't think a turkey, just
turkey.
Just the meat product of turkey.
Oh my gosh, not a beach ball, not a towel, not your swimsuit, not a chair, not an umbrella.
Please watch that clip. Please watch that clip. Just type in family fortunes turkey, because that's just one answer that he gives. The next two answers he gives, which this is the last round, you know, so it's all the quick fire.
It's for the all final kind of thing.
He says turkey 3 times in a row. Because one of the answers should actually have been turkey. It's like the third answer.
It is?
Yeah. It's because it's Britain. I think the third answer is what's traditionally eaten at Christmas.
Oh, okay.
So he says turkey. But he said turkey so stupidly for 2 previous answers that it's just the most.
So when it's actually right, oh my gosh, it just sounds stupid at that point.
Game shows,
okay.
stupid answers. Okay,
that was
yes,
great. Okay, so TV trivia. Morgan, what is the Munsters' address?
Oh God, I haven't got a clue. I genuinely don't know. Is it like Monster Lane? No, it won't be something stupid. Elm Street.
It's very kind of specific. 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
Yeah, very nice. Yes, I like that.
What did Lucille Ball try to sell in a commercial on I Love Lucy?
I feel like I should know that.
Yeah, it's a very famous clip.
I feel like I really should know that one now. The only thing I can think of is when they're doing that conveyor belt thing. Is it like with eggs or cake or something?
Those are chocolates, but no.
Chocolate, yeah.
She keeps taking it for the commercial, but she's like getting drunk off of it.
Oh God. I don't know exactly. For some reason, I don't. I'm sorry. Terrible.
Vitamita Vegemin.
Okay.
Yes. South Park takes place in which state?
I hate that I know this. This is Colorado, right?
Yes.
I hate that show so much.
Yeah, definitely does not seem like your vibe.
It's really not.
The character Daria first appeared in which other animated series?
Oh, I know this. I know it was something before it was that. I know what she's like. She's the miserable girl.
With glasses, yeah.
With glasses, wears green.
Yes.
Oh, God.
La, 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 la.
I don't know. What did he? This is
Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis and Butthead.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Okay.
What current TV show is the longest running live action primetime show ever?
Primetime show. And now this is US, presumably.
Yes.
What constitutes that longest running? Like, is it a game show?
No.
Is it a soap opera?
No.
Is it the news? Is it the Daily Show?
No.
I don't know what constitutes. Is it a talk show?
No.
Is it Tonight Show?
No, it's like an actual plotted, scripted show.
Oh God! Is it The Simpsons?
No, but that's a good guess.
Is it Days of Our Lives? No, that's a soap opera. Is it Grey's Anatomy?
No, although that show's been very long. Think of the years it's been on. It's had several iterations. Every actor under the sun has been on this show.
I'm just thinking of British things. Every actor under the sun has been on this show.
Maybe when they were starting out their career.
Oh. Oh no, ER. No, it's
No.
a soap opera. I don't know. I should know.
Law and Order SVU.
Law and Order. Law
Yeah.
and Order. Of course it is.
Yes.
Yeah. I was
Um,
going down that route eventually.
Mork of Mork and Mindy is from which planet?
See, these are things I don't know. I know Morgan Mindy. It's Robin Williams, obviously. He does the stupid voice, and it's very funny. I don't know.
Mork
I'm
from Ork.
Mork from Ork. I mean, I should know that, shouldn't I? This is terrible knowledge.
No, that's okay. I mean, you have a whole different subset of television over there.
I
Okay,
don't. You
which
should have found British ones. It'd
I
be.
know I
I'd have
should have
known
thrown
that.
some oh let me see. Um let's see, where's that question?
How many more have we
Which
got?
game I have 3 more.
Okay.
Which Game of Thrones star was nominated for an Emmy for every single season?
Has to be Dinklage, right?
Yes, that is
Yeah.
correct. Okay, last 2 questions. And these are ones I made up. The rest were from
Okay.
TV trivia thing. Which one of Batman's regular rogues is the first to appear in the premiere episode of Batman the Animated Series?
It was about. Now he's the first episode of Batman the Animated Series, the Christmas one.
No.
Is it Joker? It's
It
not
is
Joker,
not.
is it?
No.
It's not. It's Catwoman. No, it's
It
not.
is. It is. It is
Ah, there
Catwoman.
it is.
Yes, the very first episode was The Cat and the Claw. It was a 2-part episode where he meets Selena Kyle. And finally, let's see if you've been paying attention on our
no.
Morgan Hasn't Seen.
Oh no.
What Morgan Hasn't Seen TV. What is the name of the town where Dawson and his friends reside in Dawson's Creek?
Oh no. It's Cape Side.
Yes! Yay!
Yeah.
Good job, Morgan. If you didn't get that, I was gonna get you. Good job. Good job.
Yes. Well, I finished on a high. I was happy
Where is
with
Cape
that.
Side?
It's in Maine. Up there, Massachusetts.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll do.
Good job.
It's up there, up that way.
Yes.
Except that way. I mean, look, because I'm mirrored here. That way. Yes. There we go. Monday Madness, another great fun show. Good talk today. Great discussion. I liked that. Paying our respects to Donald Sutherland as well. The ridiculous Vincent Price movie. The really stupid fun and games. It's all a great time on this show. It is not the only show we have on this podcast feed. Morgan Hasn't Seen is there every Wednesday. It's a Wonderful Podcast. The main show is there every Friday. Of course, subscribe wherever you are listening, or if you are watching on the YouTube channel, subscribe and ding your notification bells here for all the other wonderful stuff we have. If you want to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, there are links in the description to go and do that. Or you can find us on social media, of course, at It's a Wonderful One on the app formerly known as Twitter. You can find me there at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Purple Dawn. All your delightfully angry at television stuff is where.
You can find me at Jeannine Devine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search It's a Wonderful Podcast on teespring.com. And if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, you can find that in my Big Cartel shop, g9design.bigcartel.com.
Well, there we go. There is definitely only one thing left to do. Jeannine, do it like your favourite game show host, whoever that may be.
Oh my gosh, I can't do a good game show, like specific voice.
Who's your favorite game show host?
I don't know if I have a favorite.
Everybody has a favorite game show host. I don't.
I don't know how to sound like an old white man.
Yes, you do.
3, 2, 1. Spay and neuter your pets.
What the hell was that?
That was my best Bob Barker.